how did $20, an inquisitive mind, and too much time on her hand transform Carole's life? And what opportunities did she create for others? And more importantly, what is the significance of all of that for us today? In a moment, I'm going to introduce you to an amazing woman, Carole Dean. But first, I'd like to welcome you to Argonet's Film Finance Club, and where we discuss film finance and film finance related issues like crowdfunding, short films, and basically everything else in between. And over the last few months, we've had some amazing guests here talking about film finance, and you can see all of that at www.argonet.com. And if you are here watching us live, feel free to jump in with any questions for Carole on the chat box. And if you're listening to the recording, feel free to send either myself or Carole an email with any questions that you may have to tim@argon.com.ph, and I will get those over to Carole, and I'm sure she'll be happy to answer them for you. So back to tonight. Welcome to the Art of Film Funding. And tonight we have, as I said, an amazing woman with an amazing story that she's going to share. And she's not only going to share her story with us, but also the story about From the Heart Productions, and also how she can help you as a filmmaker. And also we're going to be talking about the grants. So please welcome the woman behind the grants, Carole Dean. Welcome, Carole.
Thank you so much. How kind of you.
It is really amazing to have you here, and thank you for joining us. I know it's very early in the morning in California, and I appreciate you taking the time to share your insights, your wisdom and knowledge with the Film Finance Club. So maybe as a preview of how, when we get started, you could just share your amazing story that I read on the internet about how you started with $20 and how you turned that into a multi-million-dollar company.
Right. A multi-million-dollar idea is what it really was, and it turned into be a fantastic company for me. I had ended up with 3 offices across the country and over 100 employees, and it all started when I was on a set one night with a cameraman. Took me on the set. I was watching them shoot, and they would put 1,000-foot reels up, and then they would say reloading, and then they went away, and they came back with another 1,000-foot. And I kept saying, "What do they do with those little old short ends?" And they said, "Oh, Carole, you know, what's the matter with you? We're not making goulash here. We don't use leftovers." And so they explained to me that no cameraman wanted to reload a short end because it could have been exposed in the dark room. There's too many risks, and cameramen were everything went through the ethers in those days without the internet, but people knew constantly how good you were on your job, and if you used exposed film, you were out of it. You lost your job. So I thought, well, oh, gosh, night. They took a 400-foot reel back, or 200-foot reel. I know I can sell those. Oh, my gosh, you can't sell that. Nobody will ever buy anything that didn't come from Kodak. So I took that as a challenge, and my husband said, you know, take $20 from the grocery money and see what you can do. He was a very frugal Irishman. So I said, okay, I will. And that was the beginning. A lot of faith, belief. If I had done a business plan, I would have known I couldn't do it, but thank God I didn't. I just knew that it was word of mouth. I always felt was your best marketing tool, and that's exactly what I used. I sent out 250 letters, hand-typed each one. I got one customer, and he was an animator, and I drove him crazy calling every day. Are you okay? Can I use you as a reference? Oh, my God, Carole, yes, just don't call me, at least for a week. So then I was able to call other animators and say, guess what? You know, Vic is using my short ends. And that's how it all started. And in my little dining room on the phone was my best friend. And I just had the faith and the belief I could do it. And that's what I really teach in my filmmaking class. I work with people to intend their futures, and they start out with their list of goals, what they want to achieve, and then they have to tell me how they will achieve it, what they will do to get that goal. And there's an action list that goes with it. A lot of people think you may just be able to sit back and wish it. Well, you can, but you must have an action list that keeps you moving forward, too. So my little dream came true. I had a New York office, Chicago office. I love the people in the film industry because when I went to New York, I only knew one guy. He was a Jewish man, and he took me around to his Italian friends, and they ran the film industry in New York in the 70s. And he said, "You will buy from Carole." And they just sat there and said, "Okay." And that's what happened. I just had, in a week, I had 20 great friends, and from there on, my business flourished. When I went to New York, I had a total of, I remember looking at my bank account, $2,000 in my bank. So I found an apartment, one of those railroad apartments on 46th Street, the luckiest street in New York. I didn't know it then. And I rented this apartment, bought a couch that made into a bed, moved in, and the landlord came over and said, "Where are your drapes? Where are your lamps?" And I said, "I'm from California. What do you mean?" He said, "We don't give you that." So he started bringing me furniture, and he helped furnish my apartment. And that's how I was treated throughout my entire life in the film industry. People were so generous and helpful.
Well, that's really amazing. I love to hear these kind of stories where it starts off really small and like a crazy, crazy idea. And, you know, as you said, if you wrote down it on a business plan, it was just like, this is stupid. I don't know how many stories I've been part of, and I've heard the same kind of thing. I mean, my own business is the same. If I wrote it down on a business card when I first started, it just sounds crazy. But one of the things you mentioned I really wanted to ask you about is how important is the mindset behind what you're doing despite the obstacles?
I think that's your key asset in life. Your greatest asset you have is your mind. The mind can be the healer or the slayer. It's up to you to use your mind to achieve your future. And that is sometimes you will want something, Tim, and you don't get it. And the key here is to realize that the universe knows more than you do. For example, one time in New York, I'd gotten so big that I had a lot of distributors because Maxell came to me and Memorex and Memorex was the first distributor. They came and said, if you are selling used tape, which I did. I bought machines to evaluate tape and went in from buying and selling short ends of film, I went into tape. And they said, if you can sell used tape, you can definitely sell our stock. So I became a distributor. And then I also distributed for ArgonTV, which was a video producer. And they had decided to stop making a certain format. And they had hundreds of thousands of reels, so I made them an offer. And I did my little forward thinking and told the universe that I wanted to buy this stock and I was going to bid this and I would get it. I would be very happy, and I was producing this image of the results. And they sold it to my competitor. And I was heartsick, thinking, what did I do wrong here? So you fast forward 3 months, and the news at that time traveled by the salespeople for Fuji. And by now, I've got Fuji and a lot of distributorship. So the Fuji guy comes in and says, did you hear what's happened to your competitor? No, what's going on? Remember all that stock that AGFA had? Well, they bought it, and at last count, they have about 8 lawsuits. They're in big trouble financially because they paid for the stock, and now they have the lawyer piece, and their reputation is going downhill. So I said, oh my gosh, see, the universe knew more than I did. And that's why I didn't get it. So when disappointments come up, you have to say, thank you. and move on, because obviously that wasn't the right thing for you at this time. You have to have faith.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you on that. I must admit, I have had circumstances like that in my life where I'm waiting for the big deal to come in, and it doesn't come in for some reason, and then you find out that the person who got it has just got a nightmare life because of this deal. And looking back on it, you know you're very grateful for not getting it. So, yeah, I can relate with that story very much. So awesome. How did you go from that small, humble beginning to where you are now with From the Heart Productions? What is it that created the leap?
Well, again, it's the universe took over. I had sold my business, and I was looking for something to do. I was thinking of producing a film on organics, and this is about 2001. I sold my New York office in the spring of 2001, as well as the Chicago and the LA. But I'll tell you, that was a gift for me, not so much for the man who bought it. Because, you know, by September the 11th, they closed up New York. You couldn't bring in a film truck. They didn't want to take the time to open and inspect it. Yeah. So he went through a very bad patch, and he kept saying, "How did you know, Carole?" I said, "I don't know, but it was time." I knew the universe said sell, and sell now, and that's what I did. So I had a man that I was paying to run my film grants, and I'm out talking to people and thinking of producing a film, and found an executive producer who raised some money for me. And then the guy quit, and I thought, oh my gosh, this is a crisis in my life. It's about time for me to give the film grant away. I don't know how to do all this. So I stopped everything. I put my full attention on this grant. And I just fell in love with it. I mean, I realized how important it is for filmmakers to have an ear for someone to listen to them when they hit the wall. I've been working on the film for 3 years. I have raised $50,000, and here I am. What do I do next? And sometimes they just need to talk through things, or they need some strategic planning. But see, I'm coming from corporate world, and all that's easy for me now after 33 years of running a business. Yeah. So what I had was valuable to them, and I didn't even know I had it till I started talking to them. So by his leaving, that crisis became the best thing ever happened to me. And I've loved it. I really love what I do.
Amazing. And I think, you know, loving what you do is a big part of our industry. You know, I think you have to love what you do or what we do. But and I want to talk to you in a moment about the film grants that you do, so that the people listening can get an idea of how they can work with the film grants with you. But before we jump there, with regards to film funding, what do you think is the biggest mistake that most potential filmmakers make as they're looking for film funding and as they're starting a project?
Okay, well, there's several. But the first thing I want to talk about is gratitude. You said that just a few minutes ago, how you were giving gratitude for something that didn't happen, thank heavens. You recognized...
Okay. Can you just repeat that again, Carole, because the internet just jammed slightly.
Gratitude is a key factor in film funding, all right? It's a daily thing. Every day you give the universe thanks, or God, or whoever you want, whoever it is that you work with, whoever your partner is on the other side. And I definitely agree that you are being helped. Know it or not, there's someone or something that works with you. So on a daily basis, this is part of my class. It's gratitude for what I've received today. And that could be anything from a parking place in front of the bank to a $50,000 investment. Everything that goes on in your life is special. Number one. Number two, I think that filmmakers are the carriers of a large amount of knowledge. They have, let's say, documentarians have researched, and they know this much And how do you get it down into a 30-second pitch? Almost impossible.
Yeah.
So this is the key. Independent filmmakers, they have all this stuff going on in their minds about the financing, the attachments, the this, the that, and it's too much in one go. So you have to go back. One of my favorite books for filmmakers is Made to Stick by Chip and Dan Heath. Heath, right?
All right,
they
great.
tell you what, and I used them, I referred to them in my second edition of my book, The Art of Film Funding. The most important thing you need to do is create what I call a sticky story. That's a pitch. You pitch me that I can go tell my mother, brother, father, whatever. Mm-hmm. Because the pitch you give me is what makes or breaks the deal. That's where you get your money, where you make your friends, where people are pitching for you. And this is what happens sometimes. You meet people, you pitch them, but you overpitch. So when they walk away, they only have a tiny germ of an idea of what your film is about. Let's say that it's about World War II. But it's a fantastic story, but you have over-pitched me. So you leave, I want to invest, or if it's a documentary, I want to donate. But okay, I go home from the office and I tell my partner, wife, whatever, that I have just, I'm thinking about putting in $50,000 into a feature film. What's it about? What's World War II? Are you kidding? I mean, after Spielberg and everybody else has done that, is there still room? Why do you think you're going to get your money back? And on and on. So you can be talked out of. Some of your investors can lose interest or be talked or turned away from you if you don't leave them with an exciting story to tell. Let's get back to the basics here. What are the three most important things about the film? Story, story, story. And don't forget that.
Yeah.
That's where it all...
So it's the story that makes it sticky. Is that what you're saying? And you have to make that simple when you do the presentation. Is that correct?
The elements of a sticky story, it's on my website, fromtheheartproductions.com, under more information and then financing. I have tons of information there for you on grants as well as guidance for documentary filmmakers and feature filmmakers on raising money. But you need something concrete, something credible. In other words, did you know that 50% of the people blah, blah, blah. You know, people, we like statistics. We like numbers. We like credibility. And JFK said, that's credible. And shocking, something shocking and something emotional. You put these ingredients together and you have a good, sticky story. That's beyond your log line. And that becomes the elements of your pitch.
That is very interesting. I must admit, for me, this is super interesting because I've just been approached by a group who are about to start putting together the business plan for a new horror movie, and they've asked me to help them create the finance. So very interesting. I really like what you're saying here, and I'm sure a lot of the people that are listening or listening to the replay are going to be very interested in this. So go on. You were going to say?
Well, you can take that a little further now. There's a great book out now called Contagious, and once you get into that, he's really put his book in the same format as Made to Stick. Now, Contagious tells you how to make things go viral, and that is the same thing I'm talking about with your sticky story. But things go viral because see, we talk to each other. This word of mouth is the best marketing in the world. And so every day you receive and you give at least 10 recommendations. You're saying, oh, I saw the greatest film last night, or I went to a good restaurant. And so the key is what makes you do that. See, it's called, it's social currency to talk about things like that, because you appear to be in the know. We like to feel we know something that's interesting to talk about. So what you talk about is the key, and getting that sticky story put together so that people can remember it is number one. And finding the things that touch people. We like things that are awesome. Why do we forward emails? This is what you want to do, is to get into this. What makes it go viral? And there are elements. It has to have, could be triggers. You know, we used to have like Kit Kat came along, and they took a new marketing plan called Kit Kats and Coffee. That's in America. It's a chocolate bar. So they wanted to create a new trigger, like peanut butter and jelly, and they did quite well. Their sales went crazy. Tricks to get people to forward your information or do something that makes people either find it humorous or special, or it's so disgusting they can't help but send it out. These are things that work.
Yeah, I totally agree with you that word of mouth is one of the best ways of marketing, and of course it's very cheap. I went to see Carrie this weekend, the remake of Carrie.
Yes.
And since then, I've actually told a lot of people about what a great version of I mean, I was very impressed with the integrity to the original movie. And I've talked to a lot of people who are my age. I'm 50 now, and I remember seeing the original version and being amazed by it when it first came out. And the new version it does it absolute justice, and I think it's very true to the original version. And not only that, but they've updated it with YouTube and Facebook and stuff in it as well. And I've told a lot of people about it. Go and see it, especially my age group. And we have a trigger because we've seen the original copy.
Yes.
The original version. So I totally hear what you're saying about making things emotionally attached to individuals and word of mouth. That's very interesting comments as well.
Yes, it's still the greatest marketing tool you have, word of mouth. But now with the internet, those emails can fly around the world, and it's so much fun. And funding your film with other people is the key now. This do it with others that Indiegogo came up with. When I first heard Indiegogo talking about the outline, and this was almost 3 years ago when they first started, they were talking about, they quoted from my book, and they had done a wonderful job of garnering all books and all information they could find on film funding and putting it all together in a package and then creating a platform for you to launch your campaign. Because one of the things that I've always said is that people give money to people, not to films. It's you. You are the carrier of the knowledge. You are the film. So therefore, you have to carry yourself with confidence and belief and faith in yourself and your film, and because people notice that when you walk in. So this is one of the things I work with filmmakers on. And the second is, what is your purpose as a filmmaker? That will close deals, because most people with money have a purpose, they have a vision, and they have a goal, and they have values, all right? So this is the first thing we do in intentional filmmaking. We create our goals with deadlines and action lists and our visions and our values. So what happens is normally you're pitching someone about your film. See, I get pitched constantly for the film grant, so this is where I'm coming from. I know what it feels like. So if it's an in-person thing, you're sitting there and you're looking at the person, and this is what's going through your mind. Are they here for the long term? Can they last 5 years? Are they dedicated? Do they have the experience? Can they handle rejection? Where are they putting their money? You know, I look at the clothes people wear, the jewelry they wear, the cars they drive, the paperwork they bring, the way they handle their body. Are they proud? Are they disgusted? Are they confused? Do they have the film? Do they really know what the film will look like? Are they doing a good pitch? And most of the time I don't hear half of what they say. And most people you're pitching don't either. So you have to know that. So this is why sometimes I help people create a pitch with a question in it. Because all this stuff is going through their minds. So your goal is to bring them to the present moment. And when you ask a person a question in the middle of a pitch, many times they say, what? Because they weren't listening. They were thinking. Now you have their attention. But what often happens is people will ask you a question. And the question is similar to this. Why are you making this film? And that's where the purpose as a filmmaker comes in. You respond to them saying, my purpose as a filmmaker is to make films that entertain and enlighten and return my investors a great bonus. This film fits my purpose. And then you are dead quiet. It's up to them to speak next. And you will see them take a deep breath, sit back, kind of relax and say, okay, now tell me again, who did you say you have attached? You know, now you've got them. Okay. Because they know if you've got a purpose, you have thought this out, you are there for the long term, this isn't a fly-by-night, you're not going to take my money and misuse it, you're going to make the film. And that's what they want to hear. And they may ask you, so what is your vision? And you better have it ready on the tip of your tongue. And what are your values? Those three things go together, and you should have those for yourself as a filmmaker. Not as a mother, father, wife, whatever, but as a filmmaker, because that is the key to fundraising.
Awesome. I think what you just said there is probably one of the most important things I've heard this week. And I'm very grateful for you sharing that with us. I also think it's very interesting that you mentioned that most of the communication is not verbal, and that people are looking at other things than listening to us. How do we get, other than the questions, do visuals help attract their attention back to where it is and get them out of their thinking mode, or what?
Well, how do we keep them interested by, one, you ask question, you bring them back to the present. Two, you are engaging. Oh my gosh, don't tell me I have to sell myself. Oh, of course you do. You know, you have to be a salesperson as well as a paralegal and a writer-producer. Those are just easy things compared to the contracts and the other things you have to deal with. But most of all, read books on sales. Listen to Stuart Wilde, his great information on miracles. Download my free book, The Art of Manifesting. Think of find your best book on sales. There's a new book out called No is a Beginning, Negotiation. How do you overturn a sale? How do you turn it around? Learn sales techniques, and always be closing is what Tom Malloy says, a friend of mine who has close to $20 million.
Oh yeah, we interviewed Tom a couple of times here. In fact, I had Tom and Jason together one time, which was cool. Yeah. But the 2 points I picked up on as well. One was that people give money to people, and the other one was you're the second person who's actually said to me, if you want to make a movie and be successful, learn how to sell. So that's very interesting as well. I like those comments.
Right, you have to sell yourself. But don't forget the posture. I'm really big on posture. because I studied with the man in Hollywood that was the workout man for all the stars, and he put the gym in the White House for Reagan. He was fantastic, and the first thing he made you do was spend 10 minutes a day with your shoulders pinned against the wall, standing up. And you could always tell his movie stars, because when they walked up there to get their Oscars, they stood real tall with perfect posture. There's something about that gives you confidence, and other people see that confidence in you because you are the representation for the film. I must trust you. You have to seem honest, full of integrity and knowledge, and you have to know your legal side as well as your artistic side. But it all starts, I think, not only with the knowledge, but how you carry yourself.
Well, thank you. I mean, those are magnificent tips, and this is what I love about talking to experts like yourself. They have these really down-to-earth tips. There's nothing complicated about anything you just said. It's just basic tips and sense, and I love that pass on of knowledge. You mentioned just now your website, From the Heart Productions, and you said there was a lot of information that people can glean from that. Could you just give us the website URL for that again?
Yes, glad to. It's FromTheHeartProductions.com. And look for the grants are on there, the fiscal sponsorship, and especially look under more information and guidance. It's called Film Financing section, because that is loaded with information for features and docs. A lot of grants are on there for you.
Okay, fantastic. And while you're mentioning grants, why don't we talk about the grants? How
Sure.
did you originally get started with the grants? What are the grants, and how can people actually benefit and apply from them?
Well, I started the grants. I went to India, and I was visiting Sai Baba's ashram, and wondering what in the Sam Hill I was doing there, because it was cold water showers and washing your hair in cold water and sleeping on a horrible wire bed. Oh my gosh. But it was the best thing I ever did in my life. And they had a way to decide how you went in, because otherwise people would sleep in line. So they would throw these sticks and they would say to you, "Oh, you're in row 3." And that's what happened to me. I got right. I was right on the first row because I was the third group that got to go in. So I'm sitting on this first row, and here comes this sweet man dressed in orange, walking around the side of this building outside in India. And my heart just exploded with love. I've never known anything like it. And I was totally enthralled. I knew I was told to go create From the Heart Productions as a nonprofit and support films that were unique and made a contribution to society. And that's all I got, and which was not a lot. And for a woman who loved to have, by now I really want to look forward and see where things are going, and that didn't give me much guidance. But I went home, I started the nonprofit. My father was ill at the time, and in a few months, Dad crossed over. And when he did, I started getting a lot of letters and phone calls of people saying they would never have graduated from UCLA, or they wouldn't have made their first film if it hadn't been for Roy Dean's donation. And I'm saying, what? Excuse me? What donation? And that's when it all came alive, that Dad had an OPED. He was the vice president, but he wanted to work at the counter where people came to pick up their film because he loved filmmakers. And he would chat with some filmmakers for an hour. It didn't matter. He loved them. So Dad was there giving away film while I was chasing hot checks in Hollywood and building a business from a $20 investment. And so I realized, then I made the connection, and the universe said to me, it's the Roy Dean Film Grant. This is what you're going to do. And that became the most important thing that I did. That was in 1992 when I started. So it's over 20 years old now.
That's an amazing beginning. What is the grants all about now? How do people qualify for a grant? And what's the process of getting one?
Okay. Well, I keep it very simple. I like to work with filmmakers whose budgets are $500,000 or under. I particularly am looking for some of these great films that are $200,000 or $300,000 because our grants are usually around $30,000 in goods and services and donations from top people in our film industry. In other words, I'm giving you a production list of people who, for lights, cameras, sound, editing, post, and as a producer, it's up to you then to go in with that existing discount or that cash award and see what else you can do with it. Because the example of DuArt is one of our donors, excuse me, in New York. And the woman last year who used DuArt for her sound editing, she saved $12,000 on her sound editing. Wow. So I give you the guidance and the names and the contacts and walk you in the door, and it's up to you. Usually most people find that they get what is given plus more.
Yeah.
And these people have been in the industry for years and will be there for a long time. So the connections you're making are outstanding. So the key to it is that there's something that happens in the ethers or in the quantum field, if you call it that. You win one grant, you get another. Someone comes along, you get on this high that you have been selected and been through 3 granting sections. We have the first cut, the second, the third cut. You made it all the way through and you won. That usually means that you're on the fast track. The universe is right on you. They're funding your film. And you have to jump on that energy and take it to the heights. I see like the last 4 films that we gave grants to are all finished now. That is rewarding to me. So there's something wonderful that happens when you win a grant, you get more donations, you get more following. It's in the ethers. Yeah,
and I love the idea of it. It's not just cash, but you introduce people and you show them the guys and the people and say, okay, you see what you can organize. That sounds very interesting way of doing it. Is there information about the grants on your website that people can find out?
Yes, there's a whole section, a button to punch that says grants, and you have the history, how to apply, all the information you need is on there. And we're really looking for films that are unique and make a contribution to society. And I have seen all kinds of low-budget films that have something special to say in the storyline. That's what we're looking for. And unique meaning that it's never been done before. I like creative and outstanding issues and projects. So that's what we want, and we review them. And everyone who applies gets a free consultation with me. So my marketing person says that even if you lose, you win, because I will sit and talk to you about your film, your proposal, your marketing, your financing, whatever it is you want to know more about, but you can have feedback. And I love that.
Yeah, that's exceptional, Carole. That's very impressive. And is this limited to just people in the US, or is it worldwide, international scale?
It's international. The winner for the New York grant this year is from Canada, Montreal, and she's doing a film on Tesla. Tesla's great invention. She took that little part of his life and is doing a marvelous film on it. So I'm really proud to be associated with that.
That sounds very interesting indeed. I'd like to see that movie because Tesla has created virtually everything we have in our world right now, eh?
Yes, quite true. And he was so far ahead of his time because he was all about vibrations. And his mother taught him to read the Bible and believe everything he read in the Bible, that it really had happened. And that's how he started with the walls of Jericho, and through the vibration of the trumpets, how the walls came tumbling down. That was, so a lot of his work came from his belief and also his faith in himself. He believed that he could do it, and he did. That's what filmmakers have to have, unrelenting faith in yourself and your film.
Very interesting. And I was actually talking to a director from the States called Michael Perlin. Do you know Michael?
No.
He's very interested in also doing a movie about Tesla, so maybe I'll connect you up somehow.
Certainly. There's a lot of stories about Tesla. I mean, she's only taking one section of his life. There's plenty of room to do other stories, and I recommend that filmmakers share information because it may take, she's done maybe 7 years of research on Tesla.
Wow.
So, yeah, this is the kind of things people have to work together with.
Yeah. Well, that sounds very interesting indeed. And before we finish tonight, I have to ask you about your book, which is called The Art of Film Funding. Maybe you could just tell us a little bit about that.
Well, in doing the consultations for the grants, I realized I'm saying the same thing over and over here. I've got to get this in writing. But I had written a book before called Heal Thyself from my faith and belief in food as a healer. And Warner Brothers loved it, but they said if you had a doctor's name on here, you could get it published, but as an individual, no thanks. So when I wrote, I decided, I promised myself I would publish the book myself. And so that was my goal, to write it and publish it, and I did. And then I was trying to figure out, how do I get a publisher? And so I decided to say every day when I was doing my exercises, I love my publisher. I love my publisher. I love going to lunch with my publisher. And Michael Weesey called me and said, somebody just gave me your book, Carole, and I love it. We want to be your publisher. Will you rewrite it and give me a new edition? And that was published as my first edition, but it was my second. So actually what you're looking at now, the Green Book, is the third edition. And I love the ability to put all this down in one concise format and organized for filmmakers. But after that book was finished, I realized that there were so many updates on crowdfunding and on marketing online that I started the Blog Talk Radio show, The Art of Film Funding, under blogtalkradio.com. Now, that's got the most important and outstanding information from the top people at Indiegogo, top people on marketing, and I really recommend those. They're free.
All right, great. Well, I shall definitely head over and listen to some of those. I also use Blog Talk Radio.
It's great.
Yeah, not so much recently because I'm using Hangouts right now, but it's a great platform. And for those people who are interested in getting Carole's book, it's called The Art of Film Funding. I've got, the links on Amazon are absolutely huge. So I've done a redirect for everybody, and you can get the book at www.argonet.com/film funding. And I will put the link just beneath this on the replay, so don't worry. That's argonet.com/film funding. And that will take you that will take you directly to Carole's book, and I think it's about $19.50, so it's a bargain. And I'm sure it's full of amazing information, somewhat similar to what you shared today. And I must admit, Carole, I love your energy.
Thank you.
And you're awesome, and thank you for sharing all the knowledge that you have done with us today. And I really appreciate you being here, and I hope you'll come back again in the future.
Definitely will. There's a lot to learn in filmmaking, and thank you for what you're doing. Funding films is a key issue for all of us, and thank you very much, Tim, for spreading the word.
Thank you. And you know, the reason it happened was I actually produced or co-produced 2 movies out here in the Philippines last year. And in the process of making the movies, I was horrified at the processes that I saw some producers and directors going through. And I was thinking, this can't be the way to make a movie. So what I did was, initially it started off as I needed more knowledge for myself. And I thought, I don't want to go through this whole process again, so I've got to learn how to do this. But how can I do it in a way that A, doesn't cost me thousands and thousands of dollars, which I don't have, and B, how can I share it with the rest of the world and make it useful information? So it started off with a very simple questionnaire on Facebook. I went out to loads and loads of directors and said, what are your 3 biggest problems? And film finance came back as a #1. I mean, way, way, way ahead of anything else. And then that led to my coming up with the interview platform that I'm doing right now. And it was basically about sharing of information from people, experts like yourself, to people just like me who want to make movies and make a difference in the movie industry, and just the spreading of knowledge. So I put all these up on my website, and I hope it helps. And I love what I'm doing. It's taken me to places I would never imagine, and I met some amazing people just like yourself.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I mentioned to you in one of my emails that I'd actually want to put together like an online university. So I hope we can come back and ask if you'll help us out with that as well.
Definitely. Education is the most important thing, and I'm available.
Well, thank you so much. And I gather from your last email you said you'd actually been out to the Philippines as well. Is that correct?
Yes, I have. I stayed in the Manila Hotel some time ago. I really loved it.
Oh, yeah, that's Manila's oldest hotel. It was the first hotel with air conditioning.
Yes. Fabulous.
Yeah, well, I've actually been here for nearly 14 years. I came out in 1998 to do a show, because I actually do show production. I'm a laser special effects artist. And I originally came out to the Philippines to do work with the centennial celebrations. I fell in love with the Philippines, and I've never left, almost never left, And this is my home now. I have a wonderful life out here. It's a very exciting country, lots of opportunities, and a wonderful, wonderful people out here as well. So there you go. I want to thank you for joining us and sharing your amazing knowledge, and also getting to know you as well. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for being here.
Oh, you're so welcome, Tim. Good luck to you and your shows.
Thank you very much. Okay. So that's about it, folks, for tonight. Thank you all for being here. We've been with the amazing Carole Dean. What a story. What a story. Amazing, truly amazing. And we're very honored to have her here. So thank you all for being here. Thank you, Carole. This is Tim Bennett from Argonet.com with the Film Finance Club. And we've been talking to the one and only amazing Carole Dean about the art of film funding. So thanks very much, Carole. And we will see you again on another day very soon.
Thanks. Thank you.
All right, bye-bye now. And have an awesome day out there in California.
Okay.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
So thanks, everyone. Have a great day. We'll see you all soon. Take care.